What's up guys, Ronnie here and welcome. And lately I've seen a lot of people have some units over invested and also overall asking about the Lattice investment for each different unit. So in this video I'm gonna go into the Lattice investment for every unit and how much you need for them to fulfill each different role. Because depending on what you use these units for, the Lattice investment can vary. So starting off with the Doki Doki, I've seen people maxing her out. And for the Doki Doki, you only really need to do 5-1-4 to make her work. That's my current Doki Doki. And she's working very well with that 5-1-4. If you use her without the codex, but with something else instead of the codex, then I'd say you can go 5-1-5. But the fifth in here, I would hold off. Sure, it's nice to have. But there's other units that you need to build for now, which is why I would just hold off. And even now, like I have 5-1-4, I could 5-1-5, right? But I'll keep the investment in terms of Lattices as much off at a minimum as I can. Which is why her, for example, 5-1-4 is the minimum. If you're playing, that said, hold on guys. If you're playing her with Cleave as a Cleave opener, you don't even need 5-1-5. You can also 5-1-4. You can also 4-1-4 just for the speed. But most people won't use her for Cleave because most people don't have enough speed to use her as the opener. Then the Mio. Now the Mio, if you use her as a disruptive unit, full speed, as she's very fast and just trying to steal turn 1, you can go 4 for the speed, 1, and then 3. That's the bare minimum. That said, if you really want to use her for Cleave, for example, you're going to go have minimum 4, 5, 4. I personally think 4-5-5 is actually what you want on her. She's quite greedy. You can also go 5-5-5, but she's quite greedy. And she really, like that cooldown on this one is really, really valuable, and on this one as well. Especially this, because 3 turns cooldown, you freeze, you push back, they get maybe 1 turn, and by the time they get their 1 turn, they're already frozen again. So you can really cycle a lot with this. Then the Messiah. Messiah is fine at 1-1-5 if you use him as an anti-cleave option. If you use him for the cleave yourself, you're gonna want him at 4-4-5 at minimum. 4-5-5 is what most cleavers use. Raymery, guys, just max the Raymery. Just 5-5-5 her. I know. It sounds tough, but she's just that guy. She's just that guy. She's just so strong. There's 2 units I'd say in the game that you can just 5-5-5 them. Just 5-5-5 her. She's just that oppressive. Then the Yelly has fallen off quite a bit, and I wouldn't recommend you at the moment to Lattice her at all, to be fair. But if you want to play with her, right, there's always personal preference. You minimum want to have 1-5-5, I'd say. 4-5-5 is basically best, as she's a DPS and she also really likes that increased damage output and also increased attack she gets from the S1 leveled. Especially because she can get multiple follow-up attacks, and then the extra damage you get from this one is actually quite good. So 4-5-5, it's quite greedy. It's a DPS, right? And with the Lilium, now the Lilium is one that depends on if you want to use her for Cleave or not, specifically only for Cleave. Now, if you're only a fast Cleaver, you actually can make it 4 here. You don't need the immunity because you're going to be fast. You don't need to skill this up as well. 4-1-5 if you're a fast Cleaver. But the bonus damage here, you really need to make sure the Lilium one-taps someone. Bonus damage here is very nice. You really need to evaluate in terms of the damage output you get when you play her. And also, if you're not a cleaver, if you're not that fast, I'd say 5-1-5 is good, and 5-5-5 is very strong. But again, I think the S2 usually doesn't matter that much. It's mainly about the S3, as you really want to be able to kill someone with the S3. Because more often than not, if you don't kill someone with the first S3, she's gonna die. And she's not gonna get the S2 out. Then Plume is the other one that I would say 5-5-5 her next to the Raymery. I think these 2 units are just so good. Also in PvE, very good. If you only use her for Cleave and if you use a Codex, you don't need to level 5 her ultimate. I really think you 100% want to make this to 5. This is the most important part, the S2. And then you could also 4, 5, 4 maybe as a bare minimum. But 5, 5, 5 is really what you're aiming for with the plume. Shadow Sanya, don't build her. Heinrich, 1, 1, 4. Works like a charm. Don't even bother going for more. 1, 1, 4 is all you need on the Heinrich. Lily, 5, 5, 1, I'd say. 5, 5, 1 is kind of what you're going for here. And then if you're a cleaver, 5, 5, 5 even, or if you're a whale, if you really want to max her out, 5, 5, 5. But 5, 5, 1 is what I'm using her at. Then the low one, say minimum 5, 1, 5. Perfect is going to be at 5, 4, 5. I don't really think you need the cooldown. Sure, if you have a spare one, you can also 5, 5, 5. But like I said, always be as greedy as you can with these lattices. So 5, 4, 5 is the max, I think. The reason why I say 5, 4, 5 is also good instead of 5, 1, 5 is because I noticed quite significantly from when I skilled the S2 up to when I didn't have it skilled up, the tankiness. She doesn't feel that tanky as she doesn't have an artisan protecting her like the other death scalers, and therefore the defense can help. But this is one that you really need to evaluate on how you're feeling generally. 5 on 5 minimum, and then if you feel like nah, she's too squish, I need that, go for it. If you feel like no, I can make her work, or I can make her work on an artisan, then you can just chill on the 5 on 5. But I would recommend 5 4 5 as she is very, very strong as well. Hoyen minimum is 1 1 1. Against anti-cleave works at 1 1 1. Now I've put her at 1 1 4 to try and bruiser it. Doesn't really work. 1 1 4 is good already. And max potential is going to be 4 4 5. But 1 1 1 and 1 1 4 already does quite a good job on the Hoyen at the moment. Fusho, my Fusho is 1 1 5 to this day. 5 1 5 is max potential really. You don't want to invest more in that, but I would still keep her at 1 1 5 as she does her job just perfectly fine with it. And when you have some spare lattices and you have other units, and then you can decide to maybe put some into her. Aya, if you're a cleaver, the minimum is going to be 4 1 4. If you're not a cleaver, the minimum is going to be 1 5 1. But you really want her to be at 1 5 5 really, if you're not a cleaver. And 4 5 5 is also very good, as she's a very strong unit and she deserves some of the lattices as well here. The 4 5 5 is what you kind of look at the end. Now Real Mocha, I wouldn't really skill up at the moment. I don't think she's that strong. Mainly for PvE, Doki clearing, you can use her. You don't really need to skill this one up. I don't even think you need to skill this one up. You just need that damage here. You just need that damage to be pumping here on the S3, so you can one-shot these units at the Doki. But like I said, I haven't built my Real Mocha, and she's only really for the Doki there. I won't. Nah. Then Nevet, minimum is going to be 1 1 4, as she has the speed in her ultimate, and she's a CC unit, and she doesn't really need the stats. Max is going to be 5 5 5, but I would say 1 1 4 is completely fine. If you don't run her on Codex, you at least need the skill cooldown here, so 1 1 5. But most people play her on Codex, so 1 1 4 will be fine for that. Selence, if you're playing her for the cleave, I'd say the minimum is going to be 4 for the speed, 1 5. If you're not playing for a cleave, the minimum as anti-cleave is going to be 1 5 1. For standard play, if you want to draft her in a standard match, the minimum is going to be 1 5 5. I currently run her at 1 5 5. And 5 5 5 is also very strong, as she gets the 2 debuffs is actually quite significant, and the bonus speed. That said, 1 5 5 works fine as well. That's what I'm running at. Then Freya, I'm running at 5 1 1. I'd say 5 1 1. Just go for 5 1 1. And the S2 is a luxury. S2 is a luxury, really. If you have spare lattices, if you're whaling, you can potentially 5 4 1 her. But just go 5 1 1. She's very strong in the current meta. Highly recommend you to 501 here. Also not that high investment needed. Rahu, honestly works decently, I'd say at 141, but you really want him to be at least like 541, I'd say, and then afterwards 545. Mine is 555 at the moment, but 545 is already good enough. Or 541 is already good enough by far. Also 141 works. Plus, again, another unit I wouldn't scale up at the moment, as you would want to have the S1 maxed and probably everything maxed here. And there's really no place for Kloss in the moment, as since Plume came out, Plume is just a better version of her. Then Lilith, minimum, I'd say 115 as a anti-cleave option. But I'd say realistically 155 is strong and 555 is very strong. Nymphonial, I've skilled up to 444 at the moment. I think if you play her for cleave, you can go with 414, 413 probably even. If you play her against the cleave or again just for a standard match or a tank down match or anything, you want 444 at minimum. If you don't run her on Codex, I would even go for 455, but mine is 444 and works very well. Batsby wants the S1 maxed for the bonus damage. Doesn't really use his S2, and then he wants 4 into his S3, as usually you're not going to be able to live until you get another S3, so you don't need the skill cooldown. And usually you need to kill with your first S3. If you don't kill with the first S3, you're in trouble. Yeah, I would go for this. And then if you realize, oh no, I don't really deal enough damage, I really need the extra damage from the S2, then maybe you can go for it. But I would hold off with the Lattices too much here. Max is 5, like just start off with 5, 1, 4 if you want to use him. Shiada, for PvE, she works with nothing, right? For PvP, you want 155 at minimum, and 455 is pretty good. Then Nahor, minimum is 111. I started using him back in the days at 111, worked like a charm. He works very well at 111. If you want to make the most of him, of course, the 4 for the speed is good, and the 4 for the increased freeze rate here. So you basically never miss the freeze. And then 2, right? 4, 2, 4. If you're a cleaver, you can also go 4, 4, 4. Because you usually run him on Codex as well, and therefore the cooldown reduction on the ult is not that important. Keep that in mind. So Kiyomi, I run her on 411, works very well. Now, as a speed contester, that said, if you're a cleaver, you want at least 414, so you get the 100% turn meter push. Cooldown reduction doesn't really matter as you run her on Codex. Tiamat, minimum, I'd say is 111. Perfect, she's going to be 515. 515 is very nice. And if S1 or S3 is the higher priority, is debatable. There's something you can decide by yourself. I would go 515 overall if you really commit to her. Rosa. If you really want to play her, say at least 5 here and 5 here, so 155. Max investment is going to be 555. Tough. Kind of a whale unit in my opinion. Hard to utilize. Linglo minimum 511. Works quite well there. Max 515 already. That's what I have her. 515 is what I have her. Then Born. Born is a very greedy one. He needs quite a lot, I think, to actually start becoming viable. And I'd say minimum is 154 to play him against cleave. If you play him with the cleave, you want the extra damage. You want 454 at minimum. If you really want to play him properly in a standard match as well against some bruisers and other units, you actually want 555. That's because otherwise he cannot keep up with the numbers. And mine is currently 454. I use him mainly as an anti-cleave option. And I needed that extra attack from the 454, from the S1, to be able to actually get the results that I wanted to achieve. Chloros I wouldn't build up unless you're a PvE player. PvP, there's no reason to. If you PvE, if you really want to, yeah, max them out, right? But I wouldn't, okay? Didding, I run at 515. I think 515 is the sweet spot. And 555 is whale territory, but is very strong. He's one of the strongest units in the game at the moment. So you can, sure, if you want to, 555 him. Hell kit, I'd say minimum is going to be 114. And maximum is going to be 555. That said, I'm not too big on the Hell kit, as he has quite some counters in there. Yeah, he has quite a few counters, so tough, honestly. Then the Holton, minimum 551, mine is 554. Realistically, you kind of want this, you know, 50%, so 553 is already very good, but 551 already works very well. He's one of these units that doesn't really work before 5.5 here. You really want these two to be maxed out. It's not like a Tiamat that already works earlier than that. Kokardi, my Kokardi is 144. I think this is the bare minimum. You need 144 for Kokardi to be viable. Max investment is going to be 5, let's say 5.4, something like that, or 5.45, or even 5.55 if you have if you really like him. But 144 is the minimum. Lien, I wouldn't skill up at the moment, okay? You can, if you want to use her, you probably need to fully invest into her, and I wouldn't. Bayontin needs 4 for the speed, needs 4 for the increased cooldown reduction on the S2, and 1. This is for the cleave, and this is mostly her playstyle 441. If you really love her, you can go more, but 441 is kind of what you're gonna go for. Then Veronica, anti-cleave, now isn't really a thing at the moment, but the old anti-cleave Veronica would be 413. Strong Veronica for standard matches is 453 or 455 even, if you really want to go into that. I have her on 455. She's doing amazing. She's very, very strong, especially the cooldown here. If you want to use her in standard matches, you really need that cooldown here. It's night and day. Then Mia for cleave, 4 for the speed, 3 for the dispel chance, 1. If you realistically, for her, in my opinion, best playstyle, and that is a standard match with CC, and she enables the CC with cooldown reductions and dispels, I'd say 555. Tough, I know. Santic, also one of these greedy ones, probably also wants 555. If you only play him for cleave, I guess you can 4 for the speed, then 3 for the increased chance of shell cooldown, and then 4 for the 100% chance of getting the extra turn. But he's one of these greedy guys. And this actually even took 20 minutes. I went over it as fast as I could. No bullshit, just tack, tack, tack. I hope this helps you guys. Make sure to subscribe. I know most of you guys aren't subscribed, and it pains me, guys. It really pains me. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe and profit. Take care. Peace.